Aloha champions, and welcome back. For this Tuesday science video, we are going to be reading through Unit 3, Chapter 3, the functions in animals. So, like we've been doing throughout the school year with our science videos, you're going to watch this video, take in the information that Mr. Chambers provides through reading of the chapter, and then you are going to answer 5 to 10 questions in Google Classroom based off of what was covered here in this reading. So without further ado, before we get into our chapter, we want to make sure we double check and understand what is the big question. What do I need to know by the end of this video? And pay attention to any vocabulary before we get there. So our big question for chapter 3 is, how do some animal structures function? So we're not looking at all the animal structures and all their function, but some of the key ones that help animals live and survive. And survive and survival are two vocabulary words that we're looking at for this first page of this chapter. To survive is to stay alive. Pretty easy. Most of us want to survive. We want to stay alive. Survival is the state of continuing to live. So we are all in a state of survival. We're all living. And we are doing this by surviving, or turning that verb survive to its present tense, surviving, to say that we are all staying alive. Okay? So knowing that those are vocabulary terms and knowing our big question, how do some animal structures function, let's look at the functions in animals, chapter 3. Cells, tissues, organs, and organ systems are levels of biological organization that we covered in chapter 1 and chapter 2. We start with the smallest cells. Many cells make tissues. Many tissues make an organ. A few organs together make an organ system. The function of this organization is to help the organism to survive or to continue to live. Organism is a bunch of organ systems put together to make either a plant or an animal. Animal structures support functions that are needed for survival or staying alive. Different kinds of animals can have very different structures, but animals all have in common that their structures function to support their life processes. So no matter what kind of animal we're talking about, they're all designed in a way to help them survive or to stay alive. So for instance, we have this koala that's sleeping. It may not seem like the koala is doing anything, but sleep is one of the many important body functions needed for survival. Even you need sleep. And I know when you were with Miss Scott, she talked about being proactive and thinking healthy about how much sleep we get. We don't need to stay up all night playing video games. We need at least 8 hours of sleep because that's an important function that helps us to survive or to stay alive. Okay? Moving on to our page 12 here, we have another vocabulary term, and every time I see a vocabulary box, my eyes go straight to that so that I can understand beforehand what I'm getting into. So the vocabulary for this is growth. Growth is the life process of becoming bigger and stronger. And every single one of you is in a highly important growth development stage at this point. Right now, you're pretty tall, but over the next 2 to 4 years, a lot of you are going to be shooting up and you're going to become a lot taller. All children grow or experience the process of growth. Even Mr. Chambers in his 30s is undergoing growth. Mainly the growth of my hair. I can't grow any physically taller, but I'm always getting bigger and stronger. Okay? Animal structures support growth functions. When a baby bird hatches from an egg, it needs help to survive. It cannot protect itself or find its own food. It needs to grow bigger and stronger so that it can stay alive or survive. For growth to occur, the bird needs food, water, and air. These are needs that all animals have. We need food, we need water, we need air, and the more we have, the more we can grow. Systems of organs in the animal's body help it. We have our digestive system, which we chew and digest food to get energy and the materials that our bodies need to grow tissues and organs such as muscles, bones, skin, and other structures. We have our respiratory system, which exchanges gases with the surrounding air or water. And we have the latter half of the digestive system, the gastrointestinal system, which helps us to get rid of waste, whether we're sitting at the top of the castle making poo water in that moat, or we're going to a toilet and bathroom to dispose of our waste. Young organisms sometimes struggle to survive on their own. While we are growing, young organism structures may not be developed enough to function fully to allow the organism to survive. They often have to rely on parents to help them meet their needs. These needs can include finding food, water, and shelter. Without these things, the young cannot grow into adults that will reproduce. So your parents are helping you grow by providing shelter, food, water, and a clean living environment to protect you so that you can grow old. Okay? Here in this picture, we have these baby birds that need food, water, and air to grow into adults. Like these birds, many animals rely on our parents to help them survive when they are very young. Okay? But it's not just growth. We have behavior. And on this page, boom, my eyes go straight to a new vocabulary box. So before I read, I'm going to see this vocabulary term. This vocabulary term for this page is behavior, the ways in which an organism acts. Okay? So you have certain behaviors of how you act in class, how you sit up, how you present yourself. These are behaviors, and usually we want to be on our best behavior. But in animals, what this looks like is animal structures support behavioral functions. Different kinds of animals act in very different kinds of ways. The way an animal acts to survive is known as its behavior. For example, spiders spin webs to help catch their food. Horses graze to find their food. Animals use their structures to carry out their behaviors. Spiders have structures that help them create their webbing, and horses have mouth and tooth structures that make it easier to nip and chew grasses. They have a lot more molars than we do, which helps them to grind up the grass. So their teeth help them to eat. Spiders, their abdomen has that special web-spinning sac that helps them to create the webs that they create so that bugs and other insects fly into there so that they can eat and survive. When we see an animal move, it is performing a behavior. Animals have structures that enable their types of movement. A hawk's wings allow it to glide as it looks for food on the ground below. An octopus's soft body lets it squeeze into very small places to hide. Hunting and catching prey is also a behavior. Predators have structures that enable them to catch prey. A cheetah's tail helps it balance as it changes directions during a chase. A lion's sharp teeth and claws make it able to grab prey and tear meat. So sharp teeth are structures that help a lion grab and hold prey. So you can tell just by the way teeth are shaped what kind of food they eat. If they've got a lot of molars like we have in the back that are flat, they're more likely to be herbivores. They're eating grass and chewing it all up. Some of our more predators who have to eat and chew live prey have sharp canines, the canines that dig and tear into flesh. And sometimes you might be a human And you might have canines and molars because we are omnivores. We eat everything. And some of us eat more than we should, especially Mr. Chambers over the weekend with a bunch of snacks that were probably not the best decision. Okay. And now we're on to our final page of this chapter, and boom, look, there is a brand new vocabulary term for us to know and understand. So before we get into this page, we want to take a look at this vocabulary. To reproduce, to make new young individuals of the same type. Okay, so to reproduce, to make babies, to make younger animals of the same species. So animal structures support reproductive functions. When animals survive long enough to grow into adults, they are able to reproduce. When animals reproduce, they make babies or offspring. The offspring are new, young individuals of the same type as the parents. And the ability to reproduce is a basic life process of all organisms. Individual animals do not have to reproduce to survive. However, when animals do reproduce, their offspring becomes the next generation. Any type of plant or animal survives only when some individuals succeed in reproducing. Different animals reproduce in different ways, but most animals mate in pairs. Animals have different structures that aid in their reproduction. Most mammals have structures to give birth to live young, but all birds and most fish, reptiles, and amphibians, they produce eggs that hatch outside of the mother's body. So here we have an example of a primate. A primate, like this monkey, is a mammal, so they have live birth. Primates are mammals. They have structures for reproducing. The primates in this picture have additional structures that help the young to cling to their parents. So, certain functions of animals help us to survive, whether it is reproducing to have kids or younger offspring, younger generations that help to carry along that species, whether it is to help us to behave in certain ways in how we eat or how we chase after our food, or how it helps us to grow. So, based off of what Mr. Chambers has read here in this chapter, you have 5 to 10 questions to answer in Google Forms based off of this. So hopefully you enjoyed this informational look at the functions of animals and how these organisms, these collections of organ systems, organs, tissues, and cells, use all of that to survive, to stay alive, and to find their food, and to find shelter, to find water, and to have air to help them grow into bigger, stronger animals. So thank you for your time. Stay awesome, and I will talk to you real soon.